Kenner made a lot of successful action figure lines, but they also made a lot of flops, so let's look at 10 of them. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back at you. 10 toys or action figure lines that flopped with Kenner. Like I said, Kenner had a lot of huge hits, of course, with Superpower, Star Wars, $6 Million Man, Jurassic Park. The list goes on and on. But at times, they also had flops with toy lines only lasting about a year. Now, I've left off some on this list that you know would be here, like the Shadow action figures, or ones based on movies. Kind of want to do a more obscure list of figures that you may not remember or you may not even know about. But let's get to it. And let's start with number 10. These aren't really in any order, but number 10, and no, I'm not throwing the cards today. Let's take a break. Dusty says she's tired of cleaning up glass. Now, I didn't know about these, released in 1990. I'm a sucker for clear toys. I would have loved this line, especially as a kid. We're talking about a full action figure line that was, well, I was going to say clear, but probably about 95% clear. Clear figures, clear vehicles. Let's take a look. Shadow Strikers. As you can see, the ships are clear, the action figures are clear. I've said it before, I'm a sucker for clear figures. If I was a kid in 1990, I would have picked up this line for sure. Sadly, the line only lasted 1 year, and we didn't get a second series. Now, one of Kenner's most successful toy lines was an action figure line based on sports heroes called Starting Lineup. But did you know they did another line of sports figures called Sports Stars? But they were all soccer players, or I guess if you're watching this in the UK, football players. Now, this line was only released in the UK. If it was released in the US, you know it would have tainted bad. Soccer figures in the US? Please. These are all soccer-related figures, and they come with a sports card, much like their Starting Lineup counterparts. Released in 1989, again only in the UK, the line wasn't very successful and was canceled that same year. Now I'm going to read your mind. I want you to close your eyes and think, what is the Antimickey Mouse? You see it in your head? I know what you see. Rat Fink. Yep. Did you know Kenner made a Rat Fink toy line? Believe it or not, they did. Rat Fink, the Antimickey Mouse, appeared on t-shirts back in the 50s and became kind of a mascot for the hot rod car community. Kenner tried to turn him and his friends into an action figure line in 1990. Now, if you get a fever today, people's going to say it's because you got the COVID virus. But back in the early 80s, if you had a fever and you got sick, people would say you had PacMan Fever. Well, Kenner didn't want to miss up the opportunity to have a hit with another action figure line based on an arcade game, so they released Q*bert. That's right, the little yellow animal creature, I don't know what this thing is, released in 1983 around the Q*bert craze. Yes, there was a Q*bert craze. It didn't last as long as the Pac-Man craze. Did Q*bert even spin a sequel game? I'm sure there's a sequel to Q*bert, but who remembers it? But Kenner didn't want to miss out any sales, so they released these action figures based on Q*bert. And they all kind of look the same, but then again, he's just a yellow little monster, so you can kind of understand. Now, in the early 70s, Kenner was trying their best to get any hit they could with an action figure line, and they thought they came up with a great one with this one. Who needs G.I. Joe? Who needs Wonder Woman when you can have a dog? Kenner released in 1974 the super dog himself, Duke. Duke could do a lot of things, except get kids to buy him. The Duke Superdog action figure line never really took off, and it was canceled the same year it was released. It's not a bad looking action figure. Well, do you call this an action figure? Whatever it is, it's not bad looking, but the toy line just didn't capture the imagination of kids. What if you took Godzilla and mixed it with a car? You know what you would get? Carzillas. These toy cars might have been little, but they had a monster bite. Released in 1993, they came with a little figure you could place inside the car. They're Carzilla. What a great name for a toy line. Carzilla. I like saying that. Say it with me. Carzilla. Man, that's a lot of fun. Carzilla. Reminds me of this. Carzilla. Carzilla. Now, in 1988, Kenner went all out for an action figure line, releasing a lot of figures and a lot of accessories to their toy line, Bone Age. Sadly, it only lasted 1 year. From dinosaurs to cavemen, Bone Age was what Kenner thought would be the hit toy of the year in 1988. Kenner flooded the market with a lot of action figures from the line, but sadly, most of those toys would end up on clearance, and Kenner would have this action figure line go extinct. Now, I told you how in the early 70s, Kenner was throwing that net out there trying to have a huge action figure line. Well, they really wanted to take money away from Mattel's G.I. Joe line, and Kenner thought, G.I. Joe, an adult military hero. What can we do to compete with that? Let's release Boy Scout, the action figure line. Released in 1974, they're almost as creepy as an adult in the Boy Scouts. 2 figures were released in the line, and some accessories. Although Kenner hoped to take a bite out of G.I. Joe sales with Boy Scouts, it failed, like all the other figures on this list, to sell. Now, in 1978, Kenner had their huge hit with the Star Wars action figure line. But that wasn't all they had in stores. You could also play with bugs. Released in 1978, Mega Bug Gladiators, the combat machine of the future. They were no humans, but they were bugs. I don't remember this toy line, but I have to admit they looked pretty good, and I'm surprised they didn't really take off. But this was 1978, and we were all crazy about those Kenner Star Wars toys. And now the last one on the list, and it's sold so bad, we only got 2 of them from the line. Released in 1986, Battle Brawlers. Only 2 figures would make it to stores, Crack Arm and Hammertail. These 2 bone demons could fight each other over world domination. The figures look very well detailed, and it's a shame the line didn't sell well, and we could have got some more figures in this line, as it seemed like it would have been a pretty fun, cool line to play with. Well, that's a look at 10 action figure lines from Kenner that failed. Did you have any of these? As a kid, did you love these lines even though they didn't really sell that well? Maybe you had a few of them. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Or maybe there's some you're like, man, if I knew about that as a kid, I would have bought them. Let me know that and more. And as always, please thumb up so you like my content. Subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.